In 2025, the director of Resident Evil returns to the screen, hand in hand with his beloved wife, Milla. What's more, the destroyer Dave Bautista joins the cast with great momentum. A super luxurious cast jointly brings to life George R.R. Martin's sci-fi masterpiece, bringing you a magical legend, with the style of the post-apocalyptic Wasteland.
If you've got the time and the stomach for it, I've got a story for you.
The world you are familiar with has been devoured by the flames of war. Now all that remains is the lost land, and the twisted monsters lurking. In the dark, all the surviving humans have taken refuge in a city. However, no one knows that a mysterious witch, Grey Alice, will completely change this lost land. At this moment, she is just an unlucky person who has been sentenced to be hanged by the high priest for rebelling against the church. The high priest kicks away the wooden box under her feet and leaves with all his subordinates. Only one soldier is left to deal with the aftermath. Grey stares at the other person with her ice blue eyes. The soldier is instantly bewitched by her witchcraft. In a trance, he thinks he is hanging in midair, then quickly takes out his pistol and shoots the rope. By the time he regains his senses, Grey has already run away. The priest hears the gunshots and turns back halfway. He immediately leads people to search for Grey. In the dark and complex building complex, Grey stabs the soldiers like a ghost. She instead hangs the priest on a hemp rope, leaving him to die, and slowly leaves. Surrounded by the crowd, no one dares to step forward to stop her. They all call Grey the witch who can't be hanged. It is said that as long as you are willing to pay the price, you can buy anything you want from the witch Grey. This statement quickly spreads far and wide, and even alarms the queen. She comes to Grey in person to make a deal. The queen wants to obtain the ability to change her form, to become a being beyond humanity, and Grey indeed answers every request. She says that she will hire a hunter to find the shapeshifter, and then transfer the other person's ability to the queen. This promise will be fulfilled on the day of the full moon, that is to say, there are still 6 days left. Such non-human beings as shapeshifters can only be found in the Lost Land. Before Grey can set out, Giles, the captain of the guard team, takes out a family heirloom pocket watch as a reward. He asks Grey to refuse the queen's request, because Giles believes that the power the queen seeks will destroy her. Grey's principle of doing things is to answer every request, so she accepts Giles's pocket watch, and promises to make his wish come true. After Giles leaves, Grey closes her eyes, and tries to find out the whereabouts of the shapeshifter. From the vision, it can be seen that he will transform into a werewolf on the night of the full moon, and obtain power far beyond that of humans. And this is exactly the ability that the queen craves. She is fed up with serving the paralyzed old lord, and wants to win the respect of everyone. The queen despises the unknown people around her, but she only has feelings for the hunter, Boyce. The two have always maintained an improper relationship. On this day, Grey finds Boyce in the tavern, hoping to hire him as a guide to lead her to the Lost Land. Boyce says, "I'm here just to play cards, not to talk about business." Hearing this, Grey sits at the card table and easily wins against him. Playing tricks with a witch, aren't you courting death? Grey bets all the money she won. She proposes the idea of having Boyce as a guide again. Boyce has always done things for money, and doesn't ask too many questions, but he can't help but remind Grey, outside the city walls, there are no city regulations, no human laws, and even no natural laws, so no matter who you are in the city, you will only get in my way after going out. Grey says, "How about we make an agreement? If I really hold you back, you can leave me immediately. I will do the same to you." Boyce no longer declines, and he has indeed heard of the shapeshifter that Grey is looking for. Everyone calls that person Sauter the Great Wolf, who lives in a place called Skull River. As soon as he finishes speaking, people from the church break in. The two turn their backs, not wanting to cause trouble, but someone shoots at them. Boyce throws out a two-headed viper. It instantly strangles that bald believer. A small snake scares them out of their wits. The high priest shows a look of disgust and swings his knife to cut the two-headed snake into 3 pieces. However, Grey and the other person have already slipped away in the chaos. From this, it can be seen that this church is completely different from what we know. In the city at the foot of the mountain, no one can resist the church. The church believes that it has maintained the peace of the city with the law, making those without faith feel afraid. It is they who have blocked the evil from the Lost Land. Over the years, the bishop has hunted down sinners, heretics, and witches. As long as one catches those who are wanted, they will receive a reward. They eliminate those who disagree with them and oppress the people, labeling all voices of opposition as a cult. And Grey, the witch who can't be hanged, has become a symbol of the public's resistance. The bishop definitely won't let this heretic go. At this moment, the priest catches Grey's servant and interrogates him, and learns that Giles and the queen met Grey not long ago. If the queen has been associating with heretics, then she is not far from being overthrown. The bishop orders that the witch must confess completely before being executed, to help them bring down the queen. On the other side, Grey and the other person light a campfire outside the city, and sleep on the ground. A dark figure slowly approaches Grey, who is sleeping soundly. The moment Boyce raises his knife, Grey presses against his throat. A smart person would kill the client on the way. In this way, they can get the commission earlier. However, that's not what Boyce has in mind. He just wants to stab the scorpion on the ground to death. It's one day closer to the full moon. The two quickly come from the city at the foot of the mountain and the suburban area to the trading post. This is Ross's territory. Both he and his sister Mara are Boyce's friends. This brother and sister are very enthusiastic. They immediately prepare food and wine to entertain the two. It's at least a week's journey to Skull River, but Gray doesn't have that much time, and wants to arrive before the full moon. The only way is to follow the railway track, and go through the tunnel through the mountain. This method is very dangerous, but it can save 1 or 2 days. Just then, Mara can't hold back and comes to flirt with Boyce. She has stayed at the trading post all year round. Every time Boyce visits, they will inevitably show deep affection for each other. Boyce has always not refused those who throw themselves at him. Early the next morning, the two bid farewell to Ross and his sister, and continue moving forward. The trading post is the last friendly territory. If they go further forward, it will all be barren land. At the same time, the high priest has already come here by train with his subordinates. After the queen gets the news, she goes to question the bishop in a rage, who approved their leaving the city of the mountain. The bishop explains that Gray is wanted because of her belief in a heretical religion. Practicing witchcraft is a capital crime. The witch and her accomplices can't escape punishment. The meaning of these words is to warn the queen. How could the other party not be able to tell? But the queen says that the unrest in the city is increasing day by day, and the Lord can't take charge of the overall situation because of his serious illness. Now you have transferred a large number of law enforcers out of the city, which makes us face enemies both in the front and at the back. The bishop replies that there are indeed dangers everywhere in the city. The Lord is also losing control. There are acts of rebellion everywhere.
Of your infidelity.
Nothing but lies.
The bishop reminds the queen that, although these are all rumors, even among the common people, lies are powerful. The bishop doesn't take the queen seriously at all. The Lord is on the verge of death and has no offspring. The city will soon be turned upside down. A new Lord will emerge as the times require. The bishop has no intention of giving up this position. At this moment, the high priest arrives at the trading post and tortures Ross and his sister severely, forcing them to reveal the whereabouts and purpose of Gray and the other person. Mara can't bear to see her brother suffer. She can only confess that they are going to Skull River, but the high priest has always been ruthless in doing things. Even if they confess honestly, they can't escape death. She orders to burn down the trading post, and continues to pursue in the direction of Skull River. At this time, there are only 3 days left until the full moon. Gray has already arrived at a place called the Great Rift Valley. Boyce leads her into the abandoned station. There is a dilapidated cable car parked inside. The owner's name is Cyrus. As long as you give him 1 gold coin, you can take the cable car to cross the Great Rift Valley. But Boyce shouts for a long time, and Cyrus doesn't answer. He carefully goes around to the back room to check, but he finds that Cyrus's body is hanging on the roof. It seems that someone visited this old friend before them. As soon as the two walks out of the room, they are surrounded by law enforcers in order not to be affected by Gray's witchcraft. They all wear large sunglasses that cover half of their faces. The priest asks Boyce to hand over Gray. In this way, we can spare your life. But Boyce is a bounty hunter with principles. He definitely won't betray his employer. As soon as he finishes speaking, he notices that the high priest has also brought Mara, who is on the verge of death. Because Boyce refuses to cooperate, the high priest immediately shoots and kills Mara. Boyce is enraged and takes out his gun to fire. Gray also steps forward and snatches the weapon from the law enforcer. A big battle is on the verge of breaking out. A large number of law enforcers come roaring. They keep rushing to the side of the priest, and using their flesh and blood to block Boyce's bullets. Because there are too many law enforcers, Gray doesn't want to waste time. She grabs Boyce and runs away. The two avoid the gun barrels and rush onto the cable car. Boyce shoots and breaks the fixing rope. The cable car slides towards the other end of the Great Rift Valley. The law enforcers one after another jump onto the roof of the car and get inside to continue fighting. Boyce and Gray fight strenuously and throw the law enforcers out of the car. They fight all the way from inside the car to the roof. The bodies fall into the abyss like dumplings being dropped. The high priest sees that the situation isn't good. She quickly orders her subordinates to cut the cable. The cable car instantly loses its balance and tilts 180 degrees. The high priest takes out her gun and breaks another rope. Unexpectedly, the cable car swings towards the opposite bank due to inertia. The rope is about to break. Gray clings tightly to the stone wall and climbs upward, but Boyce is still stuck in the car. At this time, the cable has already been half broken. Boyce grabs the protruding stone. The cable car under his feet instantly falls into the abyss. The high priest takes the sniper rifle. She stares at the sight and shoots Boyce, then points the muzzle of the gun at Gray. Unexpectedly, the magic power of those eyes can actually pass through a distance of more than 100 meters, and directly hit the high priest through the sight. She rubs her eyes uncomfortably. By the time she comes to her senses, Gray and the other person have long disappeared. Although Boyce is shot, it doesn't hit a vital part. the two find a place to take a temporary rest. Boyce bites a wooden stick and digs out the bullet. Gray takes out a fishhook and helps him sew up the wound. In the city of the mountain, the queen gets the news that she is pregnant. This child definitely has nothing to do with the Lord, and most likely it's Boyce's child. The queen doesn't avoid talking about the child's bloodline at all. Now she has an heir in her belly. That old lord has even less reason to live. The queen chokes the other person's neck until the lord stops struggling. She gets out of bed and rings the bell, intending to inform everyone of the lord's death. At the same time, Gray and Boyce have already arrived at the poison source of the shadow. The roar of a train comes from behind them. They can't care about the approaching darkness, and can only take the risk of entering the mountains. Demons will wander in this land after night falls. The two find a high platform as a defensive stronghold. Then they take out gasoline barrels and pour them on the ground, because fire is the only thing that demons are afraid of. As it gets dark, the lights in the tall tower light up one by one. The two hold their weapons and lighters and stay vigilant. The demons smell the human scent and approach slowly. As soon as Boyce notices it, he lights the gasoline. A ring of fire surrounds the two, and the outer demons actually have intelligence. They carry iron plates and throw them onto the fire, building a bridge that is convenient for them to cross. Boyce quickly kicks the gasoline barrel over, then takes out his gun and shoots the iron sheet. The splashing gasoline is instantly ignited by the fire, and blows up several demons around. But Boyce is also knocked down by the aftermath. A demon takes the opportunity to pounce and attack. In a critical moment, Gray holds a machete and cuts at it. She steps on the back of the demon. With the help of the force, unexpectedly, the head of this guy can actually rotate 360 degrees. Fortunately, Gray reacts quickly and dodges in time. Boyce takes the opportunity to get up, and throws the demon towards the protruding iron rod, but the monster doesn't die even though it is pierced. Gray immediately throws out a dagger and pierces the iron barrel. The splashing gasoline causes a big explosion. Both of them are knocked down by the huge energy, and the leader of the demons jumps down from a high place, and comes to Gray's side.
You should not have come back here.
Gray stares into the demon's eyes, controlling the demon to loosen its claws that are gripping her. The demon doesn't expect her power to be so strong, and immediately tells its subordinates to catch Gray. Unexpectedly, the other side bursts out a huge amount of energy, and burns the demon to a crisp. The flame shoots up into the sky, erupting a huge mushroom cloud. Boyce steps forward and catches the weak Gray. That powerful move just now has severely exhausted her, and Boyce notices that the demon seems to know Gray, then asks her what is going on exactly. Gray explains that she stayed in the Lost Land a long time ago. This place hides a huge treasure. There was a man who craved power and heard the rumor that Gray would grant any request, so he came to her to ask for power. That man was the leader of the demons just now. This terrifying place can turn people into monsters.
He shouldn't have asked me for help. No one should ever ask me for help.
The two snuggles up together and falls asleep, spending the second last night. Tomorrow is the day when the full moon will come. The queen has already ascended to the position of the Lord. At this time, before the heir comes of age, she can hold the highest power in this territory. The archbishop doesn't dare to say anything on the surface, but he is very angry in private. He asks the priest to catch Gray as soon as possible, and force her to implicate the queen. Gray and the other person arrive at the land of fire. There are flames everywhere here. As long as they keep moving forward, they can reach Skull River tomorrow. Gray doesn't want to involve Boyce, so she hands over the promised reward, and suggests that he leave first. But the two have gone through life and death together. On this journey, Boyce can't just watch Gray go to her death. He pleads with the other person to go back to the city with him, but granting every request is the curse that Gray carried. She can't disobey this command. Boyce has to follow Gray and keep moving forward. The two have been traveling all night, and are about to reach Skull River, but Gray notices that the ground is shaking. It must be the high priest's train coming. In order to avoid any complications, Gray plans to deal with this trouble. She deliberately stands on the subway track to attract attention. The high priest immediately speeds up, ready to rush over and run her over. But after the train rushes out of the tunnel, the priest realizes that the railway track ahead has long been broken. Gray leaps into the air. Boyce catches her from the bottom of the track, but the train can't stop in time and falls into the abyss. When the bishop sees that the priest's mission has failed, he realizes that he can only seize power by force now, and tells his subordinates to gather the guards. Unexpectedly, Gila suddenly appears and kills the bishop's subordinates. It turns out that he has long obeyed the queen's orders, and secretly gets rid of the guard team around the bishop. Gila stabs the other person with a knife, and sentences the archbishop to death in the name of the Lord. Several people stab him to death with random stabs, completely consolidating the queen's position.
Will be a full moon tonight. She promised me.
You don't need what she promised.
Unfortunately, the Queen's ambition is far from being satisfied. At the same time, Gray successfully reaches Skull River. There are corpses everywhere here. Countless challengers have died at the hands of Sauter the Great Wolf. Gray takes out several silver weapons and puts them on her hands. Boyce can't help but remind her. Someone has also used silver to deal with Sauter before. But it doesn't work at all. Those brave and skilled fighters armed with silverware have all become the dry bones in Skull River. It's a pity that Gray refuses to listen to Boyce's advice. Gray rushes into the cold white moonlight, but Sauter doesn't show up for a long time. Boyce behind her begins to have an unsteady breath. It's obvious that he is affected by the full moon. Gray then realizes that Boyce is a werewolf. He has been deceiving her all along on this journey. Boyce lets out a painful roar and transforms into a werewolf. Gray clenches the silver weapons and rushes up to attack. But the werewolf has thick skin and tough flesh. Fighting it in close combat is completely a waste of effort. Gray immediately launches her most skilled illusion technique. Boyce's mind is bewitched, seeing a huge black eagle. He runs on all fours to hunt and kill the bird. The next second, however, his skin and flesh are cut by Gray. It turns out that the strange bird just now is just an illusion to mislead him. At this time, dark clouds cover the moon. Boyce turns back into an ordinary human being. Gray ties him up tightly. Boyce doesn't want to hurt Gray from the very beginning. Do you still remember that? Gray had probed the identity of the shapeshifter before setting out. In fact, she had already known that Boyce was a werewolf at that time, so she deliberately approached him. She lied that she needed a guy to lead the way. A few days ago, Boyce was shot. Gray secretly sewed a silver coin into his wound. Just now, Gray deliberately scratched that wound, which caused the silver coin to break and seep into Boyce's blood. Now he is unable to resist. Gray draws out the silver blade and prepares to take action, but Boyce suddenly asks for a deal. Gray said she couldn't refuse anyone else's request.
What do you wish for, boys?
I want you.
Just as Gray is hesitating, the evening wind gradually blows away the clouds. Boyce transforms into a wolf again under the bright moonlight. Gray comes to her senses in an instant and stabs the blade into the other person's chest. A few hours later, the sun illuminates Skull River. Gray buries Boyce's body and then rushes back to the city of the mountain. When the workers see her, they all raise their arms and shout. They hope that the witch who can't be hanged can take the lead in overthrowing the church and returning freedom to everyone, and Gray enters the palace carrying the wolf skin. She stuffs the skin to Gilas and asks the queen to cut herself and stain the wolf skin with blood, then put it on to obtain the ability of the shapeshifter. Tonight is the last day of the lunar phase cycle. If we don't take action now, it will be too late. Gilas questions, didn't you promise me that you would prevent the queen from obtaining the special ability? Since you don't keep your promise, you must return my family heirloom. Gray says, you have already won the queen's favor as you wished. I also kill her beloved Boyce, and remove the obstacle between you two. That pocket watch is what I deserve. Hearing this, Gilas lets Gray go, and goes to report this matter to the queen. Unexpectedly, the other party is very miserable when she learns of Boyce's death. The biggest reason why she longs to be a shapeshifter is to be with Boyce, but now her beloved is dead. The angry queen stabs Gilas to death with a knife. His blood soaks through the wolf skin, because the witch comes back. Alive from the lost land, the fire of rebellion in the workers' hearts burns fiercely. They rush into the main hall, assassinate the lord and launch an uprising, and that wolf skin is burned by the fire. The ashes drift back to Skull River, and make Boyce come back to life. The first thing he does when he wakes up, is to settle accounts with Gray.
I knew you were the queen's lover. I knew that the queen's desires would lead to revolution, and that she would never wear your skin.
Gray has long expected that Boyce won't die. She not only fulfills her promise to the queen, and retrieves the wolf skin, but also satisfies Gilas's wish, and prevents the queen from obtaining the power of the shapeshifter. She even fulfills the wish that Boyce asks to be with Gray on the night of the full moon. Now Gray is standing right here. As long as Boyce still wants her, the two can be together forever. The development of the whole thing is within Gray's control. The movie ends here. It's unbelievable that the director of Resident Evil called out Milla Jovovich, the original female lead of Resident Evil, and his own wife, and made such a bad movie. Dave Bautista's character also had no shining points. The chaotic and low intelligence plot, coupled with extremely rough special effects. If it weren't for the fact that the leading actors are all big stars, I would really think this is an online movie, using several familiar Hollywood faces to deceive people into watching it. The only thing worthy of admiration is Milla. She still has her charm and hasn't aged at all.